Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to do something a little bit different to get started. I want to ask you to close your eyes.
Uh-huh.
Now, obviously, if you're driving or on a treadmill, please keep them open. But if you can, just take a second and imagine this scene with me.
It's a good way to start. We're going to travel back in time.
Exactly. Imagine you're walking toward the huge gates of a royal palace. It's early morning. Dawn is just breaking, so light is gray and, dim.
Okay.
The air's cold. There's a thick mist hanging over everything. The whole world just feels silent. You're a prince, and you're walking to see your father, the emperor.
So you feel safe. You're home. This is the center of your world.
But then suddenly, the silence breaks. You hear the sound of horses. You look up, and armed men step out of the shadows of the gate. They're blocking your path.
And the man leading them.
He's the foreign enemy. He isn't a stranger.
It's your own brother.
And he's pointing a bow and arrow straight at your heart.
That is a terrifying image. And what's crazy is that this isn't just, a story we made up for a movie. This actually happened.
It did. Today, we're diving into one of the most famous and most shocking family betrayals in history. We're looking at the source material for the Xuanwu Gate Coup.
This is a massive event in Chinese history. It involves power, fear, murder, and the founding of a golden age.
It really does have everything. But before we get into the characters and the action, we need to understand the title of today's deep dive.
Right.
We called this the Xuanwu Gate Coup. Can we unpack that word first? What exactly is a coup?
Right. That's a key term for today. A coup, or strictly speaking, a coup d'etat, is a sudden and violent takeover of power.
Okay.
Usually it happens when a group of people seize control of a government illegally.
So instead of an election or a peaceful transition, someone just takes the power by force, like a general taking over a country.
Exactly. But usually we think of that as an outside force attacking the government. In this case, the coup came from inside the royal family. It wasn't a general attacking from the outside. It was brother against brother.
The call is coming from inside the house.
Precisely. It's an internal seizure of power.
Okay, let's set the stage. Where are we in history, and who are the main people we need to know?
We're in the early 7th century, specifically the year 626 AD. We're in the Tang Dynasty in China.
Right.
Now, the Tang Dynasty was a huge, powerful empire. It was founded by a man named Emperor Li Yuan.
Starting an empire sounds like a lot of work. Did he do it all by himself?
Not at all. He had help from his sons, but there was one son who really stood out. His name was Li Shimin.
Li Shimin.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about him. What was he like, according to the records?
According to our sources, Li Shimin was the second son. He was a brilliant general. I mean, he was described as smart, brave, and very calm in battle. His soldiers loved him. In fact, he was the one who won the biggest wars that actually put his father on the throne.
So in a way, he earned the empire for his family. He did all the hard work on the battlefield.
Many people would say yes. But there was a problem. A big problem that comes up a lot in royal families. It's a concept called primogeniture.
Primogeniture, that's a big word. Can you break that down for us?
Sure. It's a fancy word for firstborn. In this tradition, the oldest son inherits the throne. It's the law.
I see.
It doesn't matter who is the best general or who is the smartest. The oldest son gets the power.
I see the conflict already. So who was the oldest brother?
His name was Li Shimin. He was the crown prince. That title meant he was next in line to be emperor.
So you have Li Shimin, the second son, who has the talent and the army, and you have Li Shimin, the first son, who has the title and the law on his side.
Right. One brother had the title, the other had the army. That is a very dangerous mix.
I can imagine.
If you're the crown prince, you're looking at your younger brother thinking, he is too popular, he is dangerous.
And if you're Li Shimin, the younger brother, you're thinking, I did all the work. Why does he get the reward?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to make it more complicated, there was a third brother we need to know about, Li Yuanji.
Li Yangji. Where does he fit in?
He was the youngest. Our sources describe him as fierce and unpredictable, a very skilled warrior, but volatile.
Okay.
And in this fight, he picked a side. He was completely loyal to the crown prince, the oldest brother.
So the teams are set. On one side, you have Li Shimin, the brilliant general, basically alone. On the other side, you have the crown prince and the fierce younger brother, Li Yuanji. 2 against 1.
Exactly. And the two brothers didn't just sit around waiting. They began conspiring against Li Shimin. They started whispering to their father, the emperor.
What were they saying to him?
Well, they played on the father's fears. They told the emperor that Li Shimin was becoming too powerful. They said, look at him, he has the army, he is arrogant, he might steal the throne from you.
That's clever. They used the father's own fear against Li Shimin. Did the emperor believe them?
Slowly, yes. The sources tell us the emperor began removing Li Shimin's best generals from the capital city.
Wow.
He was stripping away Li Shimin's protection, piece by piece.
That must have been terrifying for Li Shimin. He could see his support just disappearing.
It got worse. There was even a rumor mentioned in the texts that the brothers tried to poison Li Shimin at a banquet.
Wow. So this wasn't just a political argument anymore. This was becoming a matter of life and death.
True or not, the rumor made one thing very clear to Li Shimin.
Right.
He realized that if he waited, he would die.
It was an ultimatum.
Yeah.
Kill or be killed.
Exactly. He had to make a choice. And because Li Shimin was a general, he didn't treat this like a family argument. He treated it like a war.
So he came up with a plan.
He did. He needed to trap his brothers. He looked at the map of the palace and chose a very specific location, the Xuanwu Gate.
Xuanwu Gate, why did he choose that spot?
It was the main northern gate of the palace. The key thing is that anyone who wanted to enter the palace to see the emperor had to pass through this gate.
Choke point.
It was a choke point, a narrow entry.
So he knew his brothers would have to be there. He could control the environment.
Correct. It was the perfect trap. But he needed one more thing. The gate had guards, and those guards worked for the emperor. So Li Shimin secretly bribed the gate commander.
That is a bold move. So the gate that was supposed to protect the palace now belonged to him.
Everything was set for the morning of July 2nd, the year 626.
Okay, let's go back to that visualization we started with. It's July 2nd, 626. Dawn. What does the scene look like?
The sources describe a thick mist. It was silent. Li Shimin and his loyal soldiers were hiding inside the gate structures, waiting.
Okay.
Among them was his top general, a man named Yuqi Jingde.
Yuqi Jingde, we should remember that name.
Definitely. So they're waiting. And then the brothers arrive. The crown prince and the younger brother, Li Yuanji, rode their horses toward the palace. They thought it was just a normal morning.
Did they suspect anything?
Not at first. But as they got closer to the gate, the sources say they realized something was wrong. It was too quiet.
No guards.
There were no guards where there should be guards.
That feeling when the hair on the back of your neck stands up, they knew danger was close.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They sensed the trap. They turned their horses around to leave.
But it was too late.
It was. Li Shimin rode out from his hiding spot. He blocked their path. Now he is face to face with his brothers.
This is the moment.
Yeah.
The confrontation. What happened next?
It became chaotic instantly. The youngest brother, Li Yuanji, panicked. Remember, he's a warrior. He pulled out his bow. He wanted to shoot Li Shimin right there.
He tried to shoot him.
He tried, but this is such a vivid detail in the history books. The text says he tried to pull the string back 3 times.
3 times.
But his hands were shaking so much from fear that he couldn't even release the arrow.
That's incredible. He was so terrified that his body failed him.
Compare that to Li Shimin. He was the general. He was calm. He did not hesitate.
No.
Li Shimin raised his own bow. He aimed once, and he fired.
1 arrow.
1 single arrow. It flew across the distance and struck the crown prince, the oldest brother, right in the throat.
Up just like that. The crown prince was gone.
Dead instantly. He fell from his horse.
That is brutal efficiency. 1 shot to change history. But what about the other brother? The one who's shaking?
Li Yuanji. After he saw his brother die, he turned his horse and tried to run away. He was escaping into the woods.
So Li Shimin had to chase him.
Yes, Li Shimin rode after him. But here is where the story takes a crazy twist. It almost went wrong.
What happened?
Li Shimin's horse bolted. It ran into the woods and crashed into a row of weapon racks or maybe a tree branch. Li Shimin was thrown off the horse and hit the ground hard.
Wait, so the hero of the story, the guy who just made the perfect shot, is now lying on the ground, helpless.
Yes. He couldn't move. And Li Yuanji, the younger brother, saw this. He stopped running, he turned around, he came back to kill Li Shimin.
It's like a movie. The tables turned so fast, he grabbed the bow.
He grabbed Li Shimin's own bow. He was seconds away from killing him. If he shoots that arrow, the coup fails.
Right.
Li Shimin dies, and history is completely different.
But he didn't shoot. Why?
Because help arrived. General Yuqi Jingde, the man we mentioned earlier, arrived just in time. He shouted at Li Yuanji.
And that distraction was enough.
It was. Li Yuanji was startled. Yuqi Jingde shot and killed him.
So, within a few minutes, both brothers were dead. The crown prince and the younger brother.
Yes. But the danger wasn't over.
How could it not be over? The rivals were dead.
Because the brothers had their own armies, too. Specifically, the crown prince had a private army called the Eastern Palace Guard.
Wow.
2,000 elite soldiers heard the fighting. They charged toward the Xuanwu Gate.
2,000 soldiers? Li Shimin only had a small ambush team.
Right. They were shouting for revenge. They wanted to kill Li Shimin. It turned into a real battle at the gate. Li Shimin's men were almost overwhelmed.
It sounds like they were about to lose everything they had just fought for. How did they stop 2,000 angry soldiers?
It was General Yuqi Jingde again. He did something very grim, but very effective.
What did he do?
He climbed up onto the palace wall so everyone could see him, and he displayed the severed heads of the two brothers.
He showed the soldiers the heads of their leaders.
Yes. It was a psychological blow. You have to understand. In those days, you fought for your lord.
Of course.
If your lord is dead, who is going to pay you? Who are you fighting for?
So when they saw the heads?
Their will to fight just collapsed. They realized it was over. They dispersed and ran away.
Wow. That is intense. But it worked. The battle was over.
The battle at the gate was over. But Li Shimin has still had one massive problem left.
The emperor. His father.
Exactly. Remember, the emperor was still the ruler, and he had no idea this was happening.
Where was he while his sons were killing each other?
The source says he was relaxing on a boat in the palace lake. It's such a strange contrast. Bloodshed at the gate, and the father is just floating on a calm lake, maybe listening to music.
So someone had to go tell him.
And that person was General Yuqi Jingde. Picture this. The emperor is on his boat. Suddenly, a general in full battle armor, covered in blood, holding a spear, walks straight onto the boat.
That is a threat. You don't walk up to the emperor with a spear unless you mean business. That is technically treason.
It was a very tense moment. The general delivered a message. He said, "Your sons tried to rebel. Li Shimin has executed them. And now Li Shimin has sent me to protect you."
Protect him. That sounds like a very polite way of saying Li Shimin is in charge now and you're under house arrest.
Precisely. It was a polite threat. The emperor looked at the general, he looked at the situation, and he realized the truth.
He had lost.
He had lost control of the army and his family. He had no choice. Right there, he named Li Shimin the new crown prince.
And I assume he didn't stay emperor for much longer after that.
No. Shortly after the coup, he abdicated. That means he stepped down, and Li Shimin took the throne.
So the coup was successful. Li Shimin became the emperor.
He became Emperor Taizong. And here's where the story gets really interesting for history buffs. This is the paradox.
Why is it a paradox?
Well, usually when someone takes power through murder and betrayal, we expect them to be a terrible ruler, a tyrant.
Right. A bad start usually leads to a bad ending.
But with Emperor Taizong, it was the opposite. He became one of the greatest emperors in all of Chinese history.
Really? After killing his brothers and forcing his father to retire?
Yes. The sources tell us he ruled for more than 20 years. And under his rule, China entered a golden age called the Reign of Xinguan.
What did he do right?
He was incredibly wise in how he governed. He lowered taxes, which helped the poor. He focused on helping farmers. And perhaps most surprisingly, he listened to criticism.
Listened to criticism?
Yes. He famously encouraged his advisors to tell him when he was wrong. He said that history was a mirror and he needed people to help him see his own mistakes.
That is rare for a king or emperor. Usually they just want people to agree with them.
Because of his rule, China became rich, strong, and peaceful. It was a time of art and culture. The Silk Road flourished.
It's strange, isn't it? A golden age born from such a bloody morning.
It is. But we have to be honest. There's one last dark detail in the sources that we can't ignore. We can't just paint him as a hero.
What is that?
Li Shimin wanted to make sure no one would ever come back for revenge. So after he killed his brothers, he ordered the execution of all of his brothers' sons.
His own nephews.
Yes, all 10 of them. Even the children, he wiped them out completely.
That is chilling. It reminds us that even though he became a good emperor, he was still a ruthless man when it came to securing his power.
He taught a very harsh lesson to future princes. The lesson was, if you control the army, you can take the throne. Legitimacy doesn't matter as much as military strength.
It's a heavy legacy. He was admired and respected as Emperor Taizong, but he must have carried that guilt.
Many historians believe he did carry that guilt for the rest of his life. Some suggest that he tried to be a perfect emperor specifically to make up for how he got there, to prove that the murder was worth it.
That's a fascinating way to look at it. He was working hard to justify his actions to history?
Exactly. And it raises an uncomfortable question for us, the listeners.
What is the question?
It's the utilitarian question. If Li Shimin hadn't done it, if he had let his brothers kill him, would China have had that golden age? Or would the empire have fallen apart under the other brother?
That is a fascinating what if. If the nice guy wins, maybe the empire loses.
We will never know. But it's worth thinking about. Sometimes terrible actions lead to prosperous times. It isn't a simple fairy tale with good guys and bad guys.
It really is a story that has everything. A hero who became a killer to become a king.
And don't forget the luck.
The luck.
Remember the shaking hand?
Right, like Yuanji's hand shaking on the bow.
If his hand hadn't shaken, if he had released that arrow just 1 second earlier, Li Shimin would have died. There would be no golden age.
The whole course of history changed because one man panicked.
It shows us how fragile history really is.
That is a perfect place to leave it. Thank you for walking through this deep dive with us. It was a heavy story, but an important one.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time for more Echoes of History.